Hi, Jovan.
What's up?
Yeah, so I guess number five would seem like an easy one.
Okay.
So who's going to enforce the law?
We can still have civil services that are meant to protect people. The
So they're going to
abolition,
have.
hold on, just real quick. The abolition of police and prisons, like the movement itself, does not call for removal of like civil services. What it's saying is that the police and prison system is focused on carceral and retributive justice, and we want to abolish that system to replace with a system that's going to be more focused on transformative and restorative justice. So basically, addressing the systemic and socioeconomic reasons that cause crime. Because most crime are born from poverty. So if we address this, we can essentially lower crime to where we won't have a need for police and prisons as we know them today.
So they'll still be armed with pew-pews and handcuffs and stun guns.
It is possible, but it would look vastly different from how police are structured today because they wouldn't patrol neighborhoods or quote unquote police, right? So it would just be a vastly different thing. They'd mainly only exist as an enforcement for like public safety, not to like solve crimes and stuff like that.
Not to solve crimes?
Mm-hmm.
Not to solve crimes?
Correct. They don't solve crimes anyway, so it would just be
So who solves the crimes?
crimes don't get solved.
Wait,
Police as of right now only clear about 14% of property crime and are 14% of property crime and 40% of violent crime. Right? They're only and clear just means they arrested somebody because those clearance numbers don't account for like people that are arrested and like go. They don't account for like arrests that don't lead in convictions because they got the wrong person. It doesn't account for any of that. So right now, police aren't solving crime. They don't prevent crime, and they're not under no like legal obligation to protect you either. So we want these things to change.
Okay, so let's play, or I'll play devil's advocate. I don't consider you'd call it that, but okay. So let's say I'm the criminal. I go and I unalive somebody in my neighborhood. Who's going to catch me? Who's going to track me down? Who's going to put me in jail?
Again, we can still have like public safety services that can do this if we want to call it like whatever we want to call it, but it would be vastly different to the force that we have today. If it comes to arresting somebody, the person that would arrest you wouldn't be the police. Right now, if we account for all of the constitutional violations that police do when they arrest, they cost the taxpayer millions upon millions of dollars. So I don't think police should be arresting anybody anyway. I think if you're going to do the arresting, you should at least have 4 years of constitutional law under your belt so as not to waste our money on poorly trained individuals that don't know what they're doing.
So they have pew-pews, they have stun guns, they have handcuffs, they most likely have some sort of body armor, bulletproof items on them to protect themselves. And they're also arresting those who did crimes.
Well,
But they're not the police.
They wouldn't.
But they're not the
I just said
police.
we'd have a different force for arresting.
But in that force doing the arresting wouldn't have pew-pews.
No,
They wouldn't have.
it'd be different people.
Would they just be like social workers coming to arrest somebody?
No, social workers don't have a 4-year degree on constitutional law. I already said to arrest somebody, you should probably have like a 4-year degree on constitutional law.
They're
Did you
going
not
to
listen
have.
to what I just said?
Look, if you're gonna take me down, this is a hypothetical devil's advocate, okay? If you're gonna take me down, you better have a pew-pew. You better have handcuffs. You better have body armor. You better have radios to communicate each other.
Are you violent?
I'm giving a hypothetical example. Remember, I gave you the example.
Great. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're not realizing. Here's what you're. Yeah. Great. When it comes to violent crime, the violent crime rate in America is directly tied to how our economy is doing, right? It's directly tied to this, right? When the economy is doing better, violent crime drops. So again, by focusing on the socioeconomic reasons for people committing crime, we're effectively going to do away with the need for police as we know them. I already explained what the abolition is. It's calling for a change in the system. Right now, that system is focused on carceral and retributive justice, and moving to a system that's focused on transformative and restorative justice. I've already stated this, right? So it's not a gotcha to go, well, you're going to have a system that might still work as police. They might, but the goals of these systems would be vastly different. The tools they implement will be vastly different. And I would say they're going to look nothing like police as what we have today. So why call them the same thing, right? If you want to still call them police, great. This is just a semantic argument. It's not addressing what I actually want to do to the systems. It's just saying, oh, so you just want police that work differently? Yes, I want police that work differently. Yeah, that's the whole crux of my argument.
Okay, so I don't have to go through the legal argument that a cat by any other name is a cat. We can acknowledge that they're going to have pew-pews, they're going to have body armor,
Possibly.
they're going to
They might, yeah.
stun guns,
Possibly.
they're going to CS gas.
This
They're
isn't
going
addressing
to
the
have
argument I just laid out. Again, it's
they're
ignoring
going to
the
have
argument I
their
just laid out.
shields. Hold on. They're going to have their shields and stuff like that. And we could also acknowledge that there's a proportion of the society that doesn't care about the economic status of things, that they're just simply violent people going to commit violent crimes.
Yeah, that would be the vast minority of people committing crimes.
Well, look, we don't need to bicker about the percentage. We could acknowledge that those people are out there, and that's why all these armaments are required of the non-police yet police.
Whoopee, this doesn't address my argument.
Look, it addresses number 5.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I laid out my argument for you, and all you're saying is, well, so you just want people that are going to kind of be like police that are. No, I've told you what I want. I told you.
You're just saying
okay,
that you want to change the policies of police. That's what you're literally saying. You're saying you want to change the policies.
That's not what I said. Quite literally, not what I said. Quite literally.
There was an example of something like this that happened in Chicago.
No, there wasn't.
It was a case of, I think it was a statue, I'm guessing, I believe it was a statue of Christopher Columbus. And this is when the Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot, was there incognito with the police. And it's on video. And she went up to the police and she basically said, I don't want you using riot gear. I want you just dressed in regular gear. You got to treat these protesters with dignity. And what ended up happening is that the rioters started throwing stuff at the police. I don't know if it was bottles of water with frozen water in it or something like that. Basically, there's multiple injuries of the police. And of course, the police they're still under Lori Lightfoot's control, so they had to backpedal on saying, well, we didn't handle it quite.
This has nothing to do with my stance.
It sure does. It says your judgment on what's right or wrong. I mean, this was a protest over a statue.
I'm not fucking talking about what's right or wrong. There is no morality. I'm not making a moral claim here. Again, you're just not addressing the argument. The argument
you're not
here. I'll ask. No, I am hearing exactly what you're saying. What is the goal of police right now? What is the goal of police? What is the
law?
So the goal of police is to enforce the law, right? Do police stop crime from happening?
Do they stop crime? Sometimes they do. Yes.
They? No. Overall, do they stop crime from happening? Does the increase in police presence lead to a decrease in crime?
Of course. In fact, they do it more now than they ever did before.
Hold on. Does an increase in police presence lead to a decrease in crime rates? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's no stat anywhere that shows this. That's why the places with the most police still have the most crime. They're not leading to a decrease in crime. The crime is still happening.
That all depends on your prosecuting attorney.
No, it
I
doesn't. No, it
Yes, it
doesn't.
does.
If you're
It
gonna claim,
does.
no, it
It
doesn't.
does.
That's
It
you're just
does.
moving the
It
goalpost. No,
does.
you're just
It
moving the
does. It
goalpost.
does.
You're moving the
You're in
goalpost.
denial.
No,
You are
you're
in
literally
denial.
moving the
You're
goalpost.
in
You
denial.
are moving the goalpost.
No, I'm not.
You're saying
You are.
you said specifically
You,
an increase of police would lead to a decrease in crime. Then when I bring up the fact that an increase in police anywhere does not lead to crime rates decreasing, you go, well, but it's about the prosecutor. No, does
everywhere. The
police
key word is
presence
everywhere. The key word is everywhere.
does the police
Does it
presence
increase police presence? There's
Jesus
plenty of
fucking
places where
Christ.
there's an increased police presence because it's needed, but the issues are not being addressed.
No, the increase in
Well,
police
hold on.
presence, again, the increase in police
Go on.
presence does not lead to the decrease in crime rates.
Well, let me give you an example, okay? I
How
could
about you
give
give me
example.
empirical evidence, not just like, oh, an example of something I might have seen. Give me empirical
No,
evidence.
this is a very good example. This is a very good example,
So he
okay?
can't provide empirical evidence. Got it.
It's the easiest way right now. So
Uh-huh.
I think it's Kono News in Seattle produced a documentary called Seattle is Dying. Did you see that?
Sure didn't.
You did watch that.
I said didn't.
You didn't. You should watch it. Okay. In that, it pointed out that, and I'm using a little bit of a little bit of artistic freedom here because I don't remember the exact stats, but it's something like there's 20, like 80% of the crime is being committed by 10% or 5% of the people who are wandering around downtown Seattle. And not only that, they're the reason why they're committing that.
I would bet
Hold on, let
money
me
that
finish.
80% of the crime is
Hold
not
on.
being done by
Let me finish.
10% of the
Let me
people.
let
That
me
would
just
just be
finish.
stupid.
Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. Now, 80% of the crime committed by something like 5% of the population. The reason
not
why they
happening.
can commit all this crime, you don't want to listen, do you?
Because you keep saying shit
The
that's
reason-
not true. But go ahead.
They're showing you the records. They're showing the records of the people, the names of the people, and the crimes they committed. I mean that's about as empirical as you could get. Now, they interviewed one of these people, and the reason why they're able to commit all this crime is because they're constantly being released. They're being pulled in, and they interviewed a police officer who retired. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He said he arrested this one guy, and he had him in the back of his cruiser, and the guy said, "I'm going to be out by evening," and he was, and the cop knew it was true too. And so they interviewed this one guy who was a perfect example of the man who's committing 80% of the crime, assaults, all sorts of things, and is really 5% of the population that's getting arrested. Okay? You should watch that.
Yeah, are you done?
Kind of. I'll let you reply at this point.
Great.
Well,
I guarantee you.
think
I guarantee you, with full certainty, 80% of the crime in Seattle is not being committed by only 5% of the people. I can bet that. I would bet my life on this. You're not going to find this stat verified anywhere, right? So you're just falling for fear politics. Second of all, when it comes to crime, I asked you specifically if an increase in police presence decreases crime numbers. So does the existence of police in an area cause people to not want to commit crimes? Per what you just said, no. This is not the case. Just because there are police doesn't mean people are not going to still commit the crime. So I'm correct in saying police don't do anything to lower crime rates. I'm correct in this. It doesn't matter if there are more police or less police, crime is still going to happen. So take that out of the equation. Police aren't solving crime, right? They solve only 40% of violent crime and 14% of property crime. So most crimes are going unsolved. The vast majority of crimes go unsolved. Police aren't even good at solving the crimes that do happen. The whole purpose of them to be reactionary, to address crime after the case, and they don't do anything about that either. And third, police are under no legal obligation to protect anybody. This was decided via Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. It was a Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court said that police have no legal obligation to protect anyone. They have no legal obligation to protect you. They just don't, right? So again, what would be the purpose of police if they're not solving the crime, preventing the crime, or protecting people? What would be their purpose?
Okay, they're not protecting you in the act of taking control of a situation and enforcing the law. Okay? If you're a threat to them, they have to it's your protection is not paramount.
It doesn't matter if Castle Rock v. Gonzalez, it doesn't matter if they are at risk. Castle Rock v. Gonzalez had nothing to do with them being at risk. It had to do with a woman who was being targeted and harassed by a person she had a restraining order against. And the police said, well, we can't do anything, right? There's nothing we can do, okay? And then when he killed her, and they sued the police department for ignoring the fact that this woman brought up the fact that this man was targeting and harassing her multiple times, the Supreme Court said, well, unfortunately, the police aren't meant to, they have no obligation to protect you, so sorry.
Right. Yeah, you can't bring the police in as a preemptive measure to protect
She
you.
had a restraining order
It's
that was being
still-
broken, and police did nothing.
You can't hold them liable for not protecting
You know what? Let's even look at another case. We'll look at a direct example of police protection. How come when 300 plus uniformed officers showed up at Uvalde, they did nothing?
Gave one example.
How come they?
Give one
Now I'm giving
example.
two. I'm giving two. 300 plus uniformed officers showed up at Uvalde and did nothing. They did nothing. They let children die. Doesn't seem like they're really there to protect you much at all.
Oh, I can't talk about that. I'm not familiar with that case, but you can make
You're not
claims
familiar
about
with
it.
Uvalde?
I'm going to not necessarily claim they're true or false because I can't speak on that. I know enough to know when I don't know.
Okay.
So you categorically deny that this portion is of these people in Seattle were committing the vast majority of the crimes.
Yeah, you would need to show evidence of this.
Categorically deny it.
Yep, not without evidence. You just saying it's the case is not evidence. Show me
the statistics. They had the list of the criminals. Had all the crimes they committed.
Show me the stat verified from first party.
Watch the documentary.
I'm not going to watch an entire documentary. Source the stat from a first.
yourself.
Wait, I want a first party or a primary source on this. So this would need to come from like Seattle PD or like the district attorney's
that's
office.
where they got it. You need to get.
Then how? Well,
you make
Jesus fucking Christ.
Hey, Jovan, it's called an Oprah request or a FOIL request, okay? You can make it yourself. Go ahead and make it. And if here's another stat. Let me put it this way. You explain this statistic to me. They did a follow-up. Is Seattle dead? I think that was the name of it. Guess what happened? Take a wild guess.
They made up more shit.
I guess they did. You're absolutely right. Oh my God. They made up some shit. And it was so incredible.
I'd assume they did.
And Jovan, the shit they made up was so incredible. That same guy they interviewed in the previous thing that they claimed was one of the people committing the vast majority of the crime, the police records had that he unalived his girlfriend in a tent in a park, and then he unalived himself. How did that news place make up that shit? How did they manufacture that? Did they use a CIA agent? Come on. How did they do that? How could they have possibly orchestrated such a fraud for news?
Yeah,
Tell me, Jovan. Tell me. How could they have possibly manufactured such false news?
Do you want to bring up
That he
points that
unalived
actually
his girlfriend
matter?
and then unalived himself.
Whoop-de-doo.
Tell me, Jovan, how did they do that?
Whoop-de-doo. You think people can't make up news stories?
Oh, they lied.
I'm
He
just
didn't really
so
unalive
the
himself.
so
He
the
did
news is
unalive his girlfriend.
just confirming the news is always correct,
Oh, you
right?
think it was on the news that happened? And even the other
Uh-huh.
news channels made false news to
Uh-huh.
create this false statistic.
Oh, wait,
Isn't that
wait, wait. Is
You
the
know what,
news
Jovan? No, no,
false or
no.
not?
Forget
Is the
it,
news
Jovan.
false or not? Is
I'm
the
not
news false or
talking to
not?
you anymore. I'm not
Okay,
talking to
great.
you. You're so
Beautiful.
far out.
Wonderful.
You are so
Love
far
that.
out there in la la land
Uh-huh.
that
You're
you're
yapping.
unretrievable.
You're
You
yapping.
are
And
unretrievable.
you're
You
yapping.
can't be reached
And you are
mentally. You
yapping.
can't be reached.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah,
you're
bye
yapping.
bye. Bye bye.
Okay. See ya. Running emotes in the chat, everybody. Like, bro, to not address any of the points I made, to not provide a single source for anything except, well, I think I saw this in a documentary one time.